Omagyanathimirantasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Shrimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nidhi Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarine Nukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Lord Chaitanya, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. Hari Hari. So with this, we continue with the second chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita. We were discussing the chapter, the ecstatic manifestations of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. We have already covered till verse number 57. So we were in the second section where Lord Chaitanya's feeling of separation and the mood of Srimati Radharani are being described. And we were reading that how these ecstatic symptoms would develop and Chaitanya Mahāprabhu would recite one and the other and the third verse. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami beautifully explains the purport of the verse and what Chaitanya Mahāprabhu was going through. So let us continue with our journey onward. So these feelings are the feelings which actually Srimati Radharani experiences for Krishna because of her most intense love for him. So here the Lord Krishna himself has descended to taste and experience those feelings. What is the nature of those feelings? How to experience those feelings of Srimati Radharani? So we will see, we'll get a glimpse into that. Amuni adhyanayani dinantarani Hare tvadalokanam antarena Anatha bandho karunaika sindhu
Ahanta hanta gatam nayami. O my Lord, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, O friend of the helpless, you are the only ocean of mercy. Because I have not met you, my inauspicious days and nights have become unbearable. I do not know how I shall pass the time. So this is how Srimati Radharani would feel because Krishna was no longer there and she felt so much of separation from him. And here we see Lord Chaitanya in the same mood. He's feeling that, Lord, you are the friend of the helpless. And I'm so helpless in your absence. You are the only ocean of mercy. So here we see that how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is just focused on Lord Krishna. You are the only ocean of mercy. And because I have not met you, my days and nights, they are already inauspicious and they have become unbearable. I am not able to continue in this cycle of day and night. It is so difficult. Every day and every night is difficult. I do not know how I shall pass the time. So this is the intense feeling of separation we see here being experienced by Lord Chaitanya, separation from Krishna.
तुम्हारे दर्शन बिने अध्ययन ये रात्रि दिने यही काल नाया या काटना
तुम्ही आना तेरा बंधु अपार करुणा सिंधु कृपा करी देह दर्शना.
All these inauspicious days and nights are not passing, for I have not met you. It is difficult to know how to pass all this time. But you are the friend of the helpless and an ocean of mercy. Kindly give me your audience, for I am in a precarious position. So, this is how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying in the mood of Srimati Radharani. He is expressing his desperation to see Krishna, to meet Krishna, to connect with Krishna, because he's feeling so much of separation that all the time, where a moment when Krishna is not there, he's feeling everything is inauspicious. The days are inauspicious, the nights are inauspicious, and I don't know how to pass this time. So, this is what is going on in the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
And I was just thinking that our lives are what an opposite of this. You know, for some part of the day we may think of Krishna, and what about the rest of the day? And what about the rest of the night? And we do not even consider that they are inauspicious. And then so many of us are just doing one thing after the other thing to kill time. You know, this is such a usual phrase. What are you doing? I'm just killing some time. You know, watching some video or doing something on social media or just chit-chatting with some friend, checking the WhatsApp status, all this. Right? So, and here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying that because I'm not able to meet you, I'm not able to see you, I'm feeling so much separation by all days and nights. They're completely inauspicious. I don't know how this time will pass.
उठेला भाव चापाला मना हायला चंचला भावे रगती बुझनाया आदर्शने पोळे मना के मने पाब दर्शना कृष्ण ठाणी पूछे न उपाया. In this way, the Lord's restlessness was awakened by ecstatic feelings and his mind became agitated. No one could understand what course such ecstasy would take, because Lord Chaitanya could not meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, his mind burned. He began to ask Krishna about the means by which he could reach him. So this was the constant meditation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he has taken this role of a devotee to teach us what should be our mood. So he is telling that how he was feeling that this distance or the separation from Krishna was unbearable, and constantly he was thinking of how he could reach Krishna. So similarly, in our day-to-day life, all our activities should be revolving around this central principle that how can I please Krishna? Because if I please Krishna, then that is the only way to reach Krishna. So how do I please Krishna? And how do I know how to please Krishna? Because Krishna is not telling. So that is why we have acharyas, that is why we have Guru Parampara, that is why we have books of Srila Prabhupada. Because there it is mentioned how do we please Krishna, in what way do we work, in what way do we serve, which is pleasing to Krishna.
So we understand that this is Krishna consciousness movement, and here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is exhibiting consciousness. So if any one of us have this even slightest of feeling that, oh, I'm moving forward, my Krishna consciousness is becoming nice, wonderful, that's okay. But then this is what the perfection of Krishna consciousness is all about.
Tomara madhuri bala tate mora chapala, ei doi tumi ami jani. Kaha koro kaha yana kaha gele toma pana, taha more kahata apani.
My dear Krishna, only you, and I know the strength of your beautiful features, and because of them, my unsteadiness. Now, this is my position. I do not know what to do or where to go. Where can I find you? I am asking you to give directions. So here, because of that attachment and attraction to Krishna and his beautiful form, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that my mind is completely unsteady. I am completely unsteady because of this. And my position is this, I don't know what to do and where to go. Because I'm just completely bewildered in your absence. So please give me directions. What to do? What should I do?
He Deva, He Daita, He Bhuvanaika Bandho, He Krishna, He Chapala, He Karunaika Sindhu, He Nath, He Ramana, He Nayana Abhirama, Ha Kadano Bhavitasi Padam Drishorme. O my Lord, O dearest one, O only friend of the universe, O Krishna, O restless one, O only ocean of mercy, O my Lord, O my enjoyer, O beloved to my eyes, alas, when will you again be visible to me? So the only prayer what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is having now is somehow or the other Krishna should become visible to him. Somehow or other he could attain Krishna. So this is how such beautiful, wonderful adjectives he is using, and he's addressing Krishna. And the last line says, when will you again be visible to me? Stambha kampa prasaveda vaivaranya ashru svarbheda deha haila pula ke vyapita hase kande nache gaya uthi iti uti dhaya kshane bhume padiya murchita.
So because of this intense separation, there were so many transformations in the body of the Supreme Lord, and those bodily transformations are mentioned here. Stamba, Kampa, Prasveda, Vaivarnya, Ashru, Swarbheda. So all these transformations in the body were happening because of this intense feeling of separation. There were different transformations of the body of Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, being stunned, trembling, perspiring, fading away of color, weeping, choking of voice. In this way, his whole body was pervaded by transcendental joy. So we also we discussed this point earlier, that how in the material world, when the lovers meet, there is so much of happiness. When they separate, there is so much of sadness. So there is always this cycle of happiness and great distress in this material world, but that is not the case with spiritual emotions in the spiritual world. There, when the Lord and the devotee meets, there is great joy, and when the Lord and devotee is separated, there is still great bliss of separation. So this is what is mentioned. In this way, his whole body was pervaded with transcendental joy. As a result, sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would laugh, sometimes cry, sometimes dance, and sometimes sing. Sometimes he would get up and run here and there, and sometimes fall on the ground and lose consciousness.
मूर्छाया हैला साक्षात्कार उठी करे हुहुकार कहे ए आइला महाशया कृष्णेरा माधुरी गुणे नाना ब्रह्मया माने श्लोक पढ़ी कर ये निश्चय. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was thus unconscious, he happened to meet the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jai Ho! Consequently, he got up and immediately made a tumultuous sound, very loudly declaring, "Now Krishna, the personality, is present." In this way, because of Krishna's sweet qualities, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made different types of mistakes in his mind. Thus, by reciting the following verse, he ascertained the presence of Lord Krishna. So now we are getting into the next section, shloka number 77 to 95. Kaviraj Goswami glorifies Lord Chaitanya and explains the position of Chaitanya Charitamrta. Chandidas Vidyapati Rai Nataka Giti Karnamrita Shri Gita Govinda Swarup Ramananda Sane Mahaprabhu Ratri Dine Gaya Shune Parama Ananda.
He also passed his time reading the books and singing the songs of Chandidas and Vidyapati and listening to quotations from Jagannath Vallabh Natak, Krishna Karnamrit and Geet Govinda. Thus, in the association of Sarup Damodar and Rai Ramananda, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed his days and nights chanting and hearing with great pleasure. So as we say, what a devotee should do? ABCD. So here we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we have been saying again and again, that Lord himself has come as his own devotee to teach us how we should practice devotional service, how we should inculcate and develop and nurture our Krishna consciousness. And here, Lord, by his own example, he's showing that. So what is he doing? He's spending his time reading books, singing the songs. So reading the books is Shravanam, is also hearing, because when we read books, we hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, we hear from Acharya. So reading the books, singing the songs. So Shravanam, Kirtanam, singing the songs of great devotees. And listening to the quotations from different scriptures, and he is having association of wonderful devotees like Sarup Damodar, Rai Ramananda, and therefore Lord was all blissful. Shravan, Kirtan, Vishnu Smaranam. Lord was just ecstatic. Puri Ravatsalya Mukhya Ramanande Shuddha Sakhya Govinda Dalira Shuddha Dasya Gadadhara Jagdananda Swarupera Mukhya Rasananda Ei Chari Bhave Prabhu Vasha.
ए चारी भावे प्रभु वश, प्रभु को वश में कर लिया. I mean, the Supreme Lord was controlled by these four types, chari bhav, four types of devotional mellows or devotional relationships. So what are these? Among his associates, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed paternal loving affection from Paramanand Puri. So one is paternal affection or like fatherly figure. So Paramanand Puri was a fatherly figure. Friendly affection with Ramananda Rai. So it's mentioned Shuddha Sakhya. So Sakhya means friend and Shuddha Sakhya means pure friendship. So that loving, pure friendship and affection with Ramananda Rai. Unalloyed service from Govinda. We will read the qualities of these wonderful devotees in detail in the upcoming chapters. So Govinda was the servant. Govinda actually took the position of the servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and others, and humors of conjugal love with Gadadhar, Jagadanand and Swarup Damodar. So four type of relationships Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu enjoyed all these four mellows, and thus he remained obliged to his devotees.
He Gupta Bhava Sindhu Brahma Napa Eka Bindu Hena Dhana Vila Ela Samsare Aiche Dayalu Avatara Aiche Data Nahiyara Guna Keha Nare Varni Bare. No one not even Lord Brahma can ascertain or even taste a drop of this confidential ocean of ecstasy. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of his causeless mercy, has distributed this love of Godhead all over the world. Can we just imagine what rare opportunity it is? This is so very rare, the rarest of rare, something which is not accessible to the topmost personality in this universe. Lord Brahma is being given freely without any qualification. By Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's causeless mercy, has distributed this love of Godhead all over the world. Thus, there cannot be any incarnation more munificent than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, this is something which we need to categorically and very, very clearly we have to understand this once and for all. In fact, if we study scriptures again and again and more deeply, then we understand, yes, this was inaccessible practically for any common person. And it has just been distributed like this by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There is no greater donor.
आइचे दाता नाही आर, कोई ऐसा दाता नहीं है.
Yeah, there is no greater donor. I mean, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has not just given us some petty liberation from birth and death. He has given the highest in the spiritual world. What is available? What is the highest obtainable position in the spiritual world? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given love of God, love of Krishna, the 4 relationships with Krishna. Who can describe his transcendental qualities? How is it possible? कहीं बार कथा ना है कहीं लेके ना बुझाए आइछे चित्र चैतन्य रंगा से बुझिते पारे चैतन्य कृपा यान रे आयतांद्र दासानु दासांगा.
Such topics are not to be discussed freely, because if they are, no one will understand them. Such are the wonderful pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Unto one who is able to understand, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown mercy by giving him the association of the servant of his own servant. So all the devotees who have gathered here and who are attending this session of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and later on you write back to us also in the group and personal emails that how you feel so much of ecstasy while hearing these verses. So that is happening because of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's special mercy. Chaitanyera kripa yanre haya tanre dasanu dasange. So by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, we are fortunate to have the association of his own servants. So Srila Prabhupada, if Prabhupada was not there, then who would have brought us Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Yadi Prabhupada na hui to, tabhi ki hui to. What would have happened to us? Who would have told? Who would have given this, opened this bottle of nectar freely for us to enjoy? So this is what it's mentioned here, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has shown us special mercy because we are able to understand this and we are freely receiving this, what even Brahma, it is not available to him, and we are getting that mercy.
So what is that mercy of Lord Chaitanya? The association of the servant of his own servant. Das anudas sangha. The association, I'll repeat, the association of the servant of his servant. That is actually the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. Chaitanya Lila Ratna Sara Sarupera Bhandara Teho Tulya Raghunathir Kante Taha Kichu Yeshu Nilu Taha Iha Vistarilu Bhakta Gane Dilu Ei Bete. The pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are the topmost of jewels. They have been kept in the storehouse of Sarup Damodar Goswami, who has explained them to Raghunathdas Goswami and who has repeated them to me. Whatever little I have heard from Raghunathdas Goswami, I have described in this book, which is presented to all devotees. So here we see that how through parampara these Chaitanya Charitamrita has been received. The pastimes of Lord Chaitanya are the topmost jewels. and they have been handed over by Sarup Damodar Goswami to Raghunath Das Goswami, who in turn has handed over those topmost jewels to Krishnadas Kaviraj, who has put in this treasure box of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which we are, opening the box and we are looking at those jewels. He has given those jewels to us.
यदि केहा हे न काया ग्रंथ कैला श्लोक माया इतराने नारी बेबुजीते प्रभु ये आचरण से करी वर्णन सर्वचित्त नारी आराधीते. So here Krishnadas Kaviraj is describing about Chaitanya Charitamrita, how it has been composed, what is the source, and what is the purpose of Chaitanya Charitamrita, how he has received it in parampara, how Swarup Damodar Goswami, who's a very close, intimate associate of Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, has mentioned all this in his diary and he passed it on to his disciple, and that is how Krishnadas Kaviraj received it. And then here he says, if one says that Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of Sanskrit verses and therefore not understandable by a common man, I reply that what I have described are the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, and that for me to satisfy everyone is not possible. So basically Chaitanya Charitamrita is not meant for everyone. Whoever gets this special mercy can understand, and Krishnadas Kaviraj is presenting it as it is. Nahi kaha savirodha, nahi gaha anurodha, सहज वस्तु करी विवरण यदि हय रागो देश हय आवेश सहज वस्तु नया लिखाना.
In this Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is no contradictory conclusion, nor is anyone else's opinion accepted. I have written this book to describe the simple substance as I have received it from superiors. If I become involved in someone's likes and dislikes, I cannot possibly write the truth. So if somebody has their own opinions, sometimes when people come and want to know about Bhagavad Gita, then they have their own
understanding, interpretation,
own parameters. They want to understand it. They want to understand some part of it, and they don't like certain part of Bhagavad Gita. They say this chapter is nice, this chapter is not nice. I agree with what Krishna is saying here, but I don't agree with what Krishna is saying somewhere else. So this is what here Krishnadas Kaviraj is also saying. But if I become involved in someone's likes and dislikes, I cannot possibly write the simple truth. So he is saying that neither it has so many Sanskrit verses, and he has just written it very simply as he has heard from his superiors, and that is the truth which he is writing here. And he is not really bothered about somebody's likes or dislikes. So he's just keeping the message pure.
ये बनाई बूझे के हा शूनी शूनीते से हा की अद्भुत चैतन्य चरिता कृष्ण उपाजीबे प्रीति जानी बेरसेरा रीति शूनी ले बढ़ाया हिता. If one does not understand in the beginning, but continues to hear again and again, the wonderful effects of Lord Chaitanya's pastime will bring love for Krishna. Gradually, one will come to understand the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis and other associates of Vrindavan. Everyone is advised to continue to hear over and over again in order to greatly benefit. So here Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying that initially when you start listening to Chaitanya Charitamrita, if you are not able to understand it completely, what we must do? We must continue listening to the recitation more and more and more. And the more we would hear, gradually our heart would be purified, and then we will be able to understand and appreciate Krishna and his dealings with all his devotees.
So we have to be very patient. And again we have to hear Chaitanya Charitamrita.
In reply to those critics who say that Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of Sanskrit verses, it can be said that Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of Sanskrit verses, as are the commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam.
Nonetheless, Srimad Bhagavatam can be understood by everyone, as well as by advanced devotees who study the Sanskrit commentaries.
Why then will people not understand the Chaitanya Charitamrita? There are only a few Sanskrit verses, and these have been explained in the Bengali vernacular. What is the difficulty in understanding? So Krishnadas Kaviraj, actually, as we would have seen in Adi Lila and now in the beginning 2 chapters of Madhya Lila also, if sometimes Krishnadas Kaviraj quotes some Sanskrit verse, and then he actually immediately after that, following 5-6 verses, he describes them in simple vernacular Bengali also. So that way he is simplifying, and as he has mentioned few verses back, that there is no contradictory conclusion in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So wherever we hear Chaitanya Charitamrita from, if we are patient, we will reach to the same conclusion.
And Srila Prabhupada has made our life even more easier. Here, Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying Bengali vernacular. Prabhupada has presented to us in our language. If you are comfortable in English, then in English. And iskcon is publishing this particular jewel, the topmost jewels of Chaitanya Lila in Chaitanya Charitamrta are being published in so many other languages. So, the last line, what is the difficulty in understanding? And if we are still finding it difficult, then we have to read again and again, have patience.
And ask questions.
Shesha Lila Sutra Gana Kailon Kichu Vivarana Iha Vistarite Chittahaya Thake Yadi Ayu Shesha Vistari Balila Shesha Yadi Mahaprabhu Rapahaya. I have already given a synopsis of all the facts and figures of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's last pastimes, and I have a desire to describe them elaborately. If I remain longer and I am fortunate enough to receive the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I shall try to describe them again more elaborately. So what Krishnadas Kaviraj has done is, he is very old and is finding it, the body is already very weak. He's not sure how long he will live. So what he has done, he's just given the synopsis. So even if I do not continue, at least devotees will have, he's saying synopsis of all facts and figures of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's last pastimes. He has already mentioned it. So even if he does not continue, at least something remains in this mortal world. Right? But he has a desire. I want to describe it more elaborately. And he's saying that by grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I shall, do an elaborate description later. Ami vriddha jara tura likhite kapaya kara mane kichu smarana na laya na dekhiya nayane na shuniye shravane tabu likhiye bada vismaya.
तबु लिखी ए बड़ा विस्मया. बहुत ही आश्चर्य की बात है. It is a great wonder. What is great wonder? That tabu likhi, I am still able to write. So what is his condition? He is saying, Ami vridha jara tura, I have become too old and disturbed by invalidity. While I write, my hands tremble. I cannot remember anything, nor can I see or hear properly. So all his senses are failing because of his advanced age. And yet, as Srila Prabhupada says, purity is the force. So because of his purity of intention and intent to do pure devotional service, he's still writing this great literature, Chaitanya Charitamrita. So he's saying that still I write, and this is a great wonder.
And we see that how he is empowered. So we remember when the devotees asked him, so he received the blessings of the devotee and he received the empowerment by the devotees and the Lord. So then based on their desire and empowerment, he is able to achieve this great, wondrous, Ei Bada Vismaya. So this Chaitanya Charitamrita is a great, wondrous work. Antya Lila Sara Sutra Madhya Visitara Kari Kichu Kari Luvarnana Iha Madhya Maria Be Varanita Na Parita Be Ei Lila Bhakta Ganadhana. In this chapter, I have to some extent described the essence of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya at the end. If I die in the meantime and cannot describe them in detail, at least the devotees will have this transcendental treasure. So at least devotees will be left with something. So that's why he gave the synopsis. So you see that how thoughtful these acharyas have been for us. So much thought they have given that my condition is like this. So much thought and intelligence that, okay, let me just do a brief synopsis so that at least the most prominent and important events and the greatness of Lord Chaitanya is known to the world, even if I am not able to continue and describe more. संक्षेपे ए सूत्र कैला ये यहाँ न लिखिला आगे ताहा करीबा विस्तारा यदि तदिन जिये महाप्रभु कृपा है इच्छा भरी करीबा विचारा.
In this chapter, I have briefly described the Madhya Lila. Whatever I have not described, I shall describe extensively in the future. If by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy I live for so many days that I can fulfill my desires, I will give full consideration to these pastimes.
Hari Hari.
So chapter 1, he gave the synopsis of Madhya Lila. Chapter 2, he has given the synopsis of Ante Lila. And now he is saying that if I continue living, I'll describe everything in detail.
छोटा बड़ा भक्त गण वंदो साबर श्री चरण सबे मोरे कर संतोषा स्वरूप साईर माता रूप रघुनाथ जनता ताई लिखी नाही मोरा दोषा. I worship herewith the lotus feet of all kinds of devotees, both advanced and neophyte. Chota, Bada, Bhakta Gana, Vando Sabara, Shri Charana. So he is worshipping the lotus feet of all kinds of devotees, whether Chota or Bada, whether a small neophyte, beginner devotee or advanced devotee. I request all of them to be satisfied with me. I am faultless. Now what a statement. Krishnadas Kaviraj is missing. I am faultless. Why? He's giving a reason. Because I have written herein whatever I have understood from Sarup Damodar Goswami and Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswamis. I have neither added to nor subtracted from their version. So that is the reason why Krishnadas Kaviraj is saying, I am faultless. So this is the parampara system. So Sarup Damodar Goswami was a very, very close associate. Rupa Goswami was instructed by the Supreme Lord, his disciple. He had so much association. Raghunath Das Goswami received all those jewels from Sarup Damodar Goswami. And through this chain, Krishnadas Kaviraj heard. And he's saying, I have neither subtracted, I have not added. I have just presented as it is. So therefore I am faultless. I have not added my faults to it. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaitadi Bhakta Vrinda Shire Dhari Sabar Charana Swarup Rupa Sanatana Raghunath Shri Charana Dhuli Karo Mastake Bhushana. According to the parampara system, I wish to take the dust from the lotus feet. Shire dhari sabar charan. Shire means on the top of my head. I keep the dust from the lotus feet of all these devotees, all these personalities like Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advait Prabhu, and all the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu like Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami. I wish to take the dust of their lotus feet upon my head. In this way, I wish to be blessed with their mercy. So we see in these verses also the great humility of Krishnadas Kaviraj. And it's just so humble that he's that way so clear. He's saying that there is no fault in the whole presentation. And he's offering his obeisances to also his humble his humility, which is just showing through these verses.
Tanayandra agya dhana brajera vaishnava gana vando tanra mukhya haridasa
Chaitanya vilasa sindhu kallolera eka bindu tarakana kahe Krishna dasa.
Receiving orders from the above authorities and the Vaishnavas of Vrindavan, especially the priest Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, have tried to describe one small particle of one drop of one wave of the ocean of the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu. So again talking about his humility, and he is saying he is just one, not even one drop, but he is one drop of one wave of the ocean. So the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is like huge ocean which is endless. There are so many countless waves there, and in one of that wave there is, which is made of so many drops of water, just one drop, and out of that only one particle is what Krishnadas Kaviraj is able to present, and that too by the instructions of all the devotees and the Vaishnavas. So with this we conclude the second chapter, and now we will proceed towards the third chapter, with which we would be actually beginning the Madhya Lila. So hoping that all of you are ready to receive the Madhya Lila in detail, here we are starting the next chapter. Just a moment, we are sharing the slide. So hope we are all eager and excited and enthusiastic about the next beginning. And here it comes, Madhya Lila chapter 3. The title of this chapter is, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahāprabhu's stay at the house of Advait Acharya. So this chapter is a long chapter. The first three sections are verse number 1 to 40, Lord Nityananda diverts Lord Chaitanya. So we know that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas towards the end of the Adi Lila. So after his taking sannyas, so this chapter is beginning from the point where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has just taken sannyas, and he has a strong desire to go to Vrindavan. So here he is proceeding towards Vrindavan, and let's see what is happening here in this chapter. So Lord Nityananda diverts Lord Chaitanya, verse number 1 to 40. Nyasam vidhayot paranayot gavro vrindavanam gandumana brahmadya rade brahman shanti purim ayitva lala sabhakter ihatam natosmi. After accepting the sannyas order of life, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of intense love for Krishna, wanted to go to Vrindavan, but apparently by mistake he wandered in the Radha Desh. Later he arrived at Shantipur and enjoyed himself there with his devotees. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Chabisha Vatsara Shesha Yei Magha Masa Tara Shukla Pakshe Prabhu Karila Sannyasa. At the end of his 24th year, in the month of Magh, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the sannyas order during the waxing period of the moon. So Magh month is going on, and tomorrow is Basant Panchami. The 5th day of Magh month is the Basant Panchami. So in this month, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted the sannyas order during the waxing period of the moon, when the moon is reaching towards Purnima.
Shukla
Pakshe. Sanyasakari prema veshe chalila vrindavana Radha deshe tina dina karila brahmana.
So I hope we all remember how ecstatic Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was when he was taking sannyas, how he was dancing and chanting, and he was inducing everybody to chant along with him. And there were so many people who had gathered, and they were thinking, oh my God, such a beautiful sannyasi, such a young sannyasi, what would have happened to his mother or his wife? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like spreading joy, spreading love, spreading ecstasy. So, continuation there. After accepting the sannyas order, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, out of intense love for Krishna, started from Vrindavan, because that is where he wanted to go. However, now because he was in a trance, so he mistakenly wandered about in a trance continuously for 3 days in the tract of land known as Radhadesh. So he could not proceed towards Vrindavan. He sort of got lost, and for 3 days he was in the area. Radhadesh is that portion of Bengal where Ganga does not flow. So he was in that area for 3 days.
श्लोक पढ़ी प्रभु भावेरा आवेशे भ्रमिते पवित्र कैलास वराड देशे. Passing through the tract of land known as Radhadesh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited the following verse in ecstasy. Etam sa asthaya paratmanishtham adhyasitam purvatmair mahadvi aham traishyami durantaparam tamo mukundagrinishevayaiva.
As a Brahman from Avanti Desh said, I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of Nishayans by being firmly fixed in the service of the lotus feet of Krishna. This was approved by the previous acharyas who were fixed in firm devotion to the Lord Paramatma, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam recited by by a Brahman in Canto 11. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was also reciting this verse when he was in ecstasy, and he was sort of determining that I shall cross over the insurmountable ocean of Nishayans. And what is the process? By fixing his mind, by fixing firmly in the service of Krishna. Prabhu kahe sadhu
भिक्षुरा वचना Mukunda sevana vrata kaila nirdarana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approved the purport of this verse on account of the determination of the mendicant devotee to engage in the service of Lord Mukunda. He gave his approval of this verse, indicating that it was very good. So Avanti Brahmana was saying that, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu proved that yes, that is the process. Surrender to the lotus feet of the Lord, doubling attachment to the Supreme Lord, is the way how we can cross over the ocean of nescience. Otherwise, it is not possible. Krishna says the same thing in Bhagavad Gita, where he says that getting beyond the 3 modes of material nature is very, very difficult, other than for those who are attached to him. By Krishna's mercy, it is possible.
Paratma nishtha matra vesha dharana
Mukunda sevaya haya samsara tarana sei vesha kaila ebe vrindavana giya Krishna nishavana kari nibrite vasiya.
So Mahaprabhu is describing here the real purpose of sannyas. He has just taken sannyas, and he is saying the real purpose of accepting sannyas is to dedicate oneself to the service of Mukunda. By serving Mukunda, one can actually be liberated from the bondage of material existence. After accepting the sannyas order, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu decided to go to Vrindavan and engage himself wholly and solely in the service of Mukunda in a solitary place. So that was his desire and decision, and let's see what happens to Mahaprabhu's desire.
Etabali chale Prabhu premonmade chaiha dekhe jnana nahi kivaratri dena. As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was en route to Vrindavan, all the ecstatic symptoms became manifest, and he did not know in which direction he was going, nor did he know whether it was day or night. So these were the ecstatic symptoms which were manifest in his divine form. So he had an intent, he was en route to Vrindavan, but because of of this great ecstasy which was arising in him, he could not make out which direction he was going, whether it was day or it was night.
Nityananda Acharya Ratna Mukunti na jana Prabhu pache pache tine kare na gamana. So 3 devotees. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas and he was wandering in Radh Desh, so 3 devotees closely followed him. They were Nityananda, Acharya Ratna and Mukunda. So they were following Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Ye Prabhu dekhe sei loka Prema veshe hari bale khande dukha shoka Gopa bala sab Prabhu ke dekhiya Hari hari bali dake uccha kariya.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed through Radh Desh, whoever saw him in ecstasy exclaimed,
Hari
Hari,
Hari
Hari, Hari, Hari. As they chanted this with the Lord, all the unhappiness of material existence diminished. All the cowherd boys who saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passing joined with him and began to shout loudly, Hari, Hari.
So here already we can see that Lord Chaitanya was inducing all, whom he came in touch with to chant Lord's Hari's name. Shunita sabara nikar gela gaura hari Bala bala bale sabar shire hastadhari. When he heard all the cowherd boys also chanting Hari Hari, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very pleased. He approached them, put his hand on their heads and said, Go on chanting like that. So we see that how Lord became very pleased when these cowherd boys were chanting, and he personally blessed each one of those cowherd boys and instructed them that please continue to chant the holy names.
So can we just for a moment close our eyes and imagine how it would feel when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would personally keep his hands on our head. Shire Hastadhari. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is personally keeping his hands on our head, how is that feeling? And how do we get to that feeling? That feeling is very easy to obtain. Here, what these simple cowherd boys were doing, they were just chanting Hari, 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 Hari. So when we also chant Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally comes and he keeps his hand on our head and he says, go on chanting like that.
Sabar stuti kare tumra bhagyavan Kritat karile more shunanarina. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus blessed them all, saying that they were all fortunate. In this way, he praised them. And he felt very successful because they chanted the holy name of Lord Hari. So can you imagine how much happiness these cowherd boys, by chanting Hari Hari, they gave to Lord Chaitanya? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt that he was very successful because by his chanting, these boys became inspired to chant Lord's name.
Guptata sabha ke ani Thakur Nityananda Shikhaila sabha kare kariya prabandha Vrindavan patha Prabhu puche na tumhare Ganga tire patha tabe dekhaiya tare. So now Nityananda Prabhu is about to trick Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So again, it started now. Very interesting and sweet pastime is about to manifest. Yes. So what happened when Nityananda saw that these boys are giving so much happiness to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Mahaprabhu is very happy. He blessed him and he has continued. He called the other boys and he said, calling all the boys in confidence and telling a reasonable story, Nityananda Prabhu instructed them as follows. If Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asks you about the path to Vrindavan, please show him the path on the bank of the Ganges instead. So instead of telling him the right direction, you guide him in the direction where Ganga flows. So that is what Nityananda convinced these boys to trick Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
तबे प्रभु पूछी लेना शुन शिशु गाना कहा देखी कौन पथे आबे वृंदावना तबे प्रभु पूछी लेना.
Oh, we have repeated that verse. Okay.
When the cowherd boys were questioned by Lord Caitanya Mahāprabhu about the path to Vrindavan, the boys showed him the path on the bank of the Ganges, and the Lord went that way in ecstasy.
Acharya Tera kahe Nityanand Gosai Shigraya tumi Advait Acharya Rathani. As the Lord proceeded along the bank of the Ganges, Sri Nityananda Prabhu requested Acharya Ratna. So he is Chandrasekhar Acharya. He requested to go immediately to the house of Advaita Acharya. So now the trick is continuing. It is not the end. So first he has sent Mahaprabhu in the direction of Ganga, and then he has asked Chandrasekhar Acharya to rush to Advaita Acharya's house.
Prabhu laya ami tahara mandire Savadhan rahina naukalana tire. Shri Nityananda Goswami told him, I shall take Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the bank of the Ganges at Shantipur, and Advaita Acharya should carefully stay there on the shore with a boat. So Shantipur is this side, Radhadesh is this side, and he was supposed to go to Vrindavan, but because of this arrangement by Nityanand Prabhu, now Lord is traveling along the other bank of Ganga, and as he will be reaching in the vicinity of Shantipur, he is requesting Chandrasekhar Acharya to go and tell Advaita Acharya that you please be ready on the bank with a boat and wait for Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Tabe
Navadvipe tumi kariha gamana Shachi sahalana aisa savavakta gana Tanre pathaiya nityananda mahashaya Mahaprabhu age asi dila parichaya. So
he has the whole plan made out. The whole blueprint was ready with Nityanand Prabhu. So Nityananda, first he told the boys to tell Chaitanya Mahaprabhu like that. Then he sends Chandrasekhar Acharya. Then he instructs to what he should tell to Advaita Acharya. And now he's saying, after that, I shall go to Advaita Acharya's house and you should go to Navadvip and return with Mother Sachi and all other devotees. After sending Acharya Ratna to the house of Advaita Acharya, Sri Nityananda Prabhu went before Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and gave notice of his coming. So Nityananda Prabhu was also aware that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has taken sannyas, and everyone back there in Mayapur would be so distressed and distraught. So that is why he sends Chandrasekhar Acharya to bring Mother Sachi and all the devotees from Navadip so that they can have darshan of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was about to take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the house of Advaita Acharya in Shantipur.
Prabhu kahe Shripat tomar kotha ke gamana Shripat kahe tomar sange yapa vrindavana. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy and he asked where Nityananda Prabhu was going. Nityananda Prabhu replied, he was going with him towards Vrindavan. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in ecstasy. He saw Nityananda Prabhu. Where are you going? Oh, Nityananda Prabhu said, I am going to Vrindavan. Oh, great. I am also going in the same direction.
Chalo, chalte hain. Prabhu kahe kata dure aache Vrindavana Teho kahe kara ei Yamuna darshana Eta baliyani tanre Ganga sannidhane Ave Prabhu rahaila Ganga Yamuna jane. So Prabhu kahe kata dure aache Vrindavan. Kitna dur hai? How far is it? How far the Vrindavan is? Tenho kahe kara yehi Yamuna darshan. Arey pahunch gaye. This is Yamuna. So Ganga was flowing and Nityananda is saying, oh, we have reached. See, this is Yamuna which is flowing. Eta bali anle tanre Ganga sannidhare. So saying this, Nityananda Prabhu took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu near the Ganges, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in so much of ecstasy. Can we, I mean, of course, we cannot estimate his ecstasy. So all this while he was desiring to go to Vrindavan, and here he has been told that, look, here is Yamuna. So Avesh Prabhu Haila Gangar Yamuna Gyane. In his ecstasy, he accepted the river Ganges as the river Yamuna. So he thought, okay, so this is Yamuna.
When the Lord asked Nityanand Prabhu how far it was to Vrindavan, Nityanand replied, just see, here is the river Yamuna. Saying this, Nityanand Prabhu took Chaitanya Mahaprabhu near the Ganges, and the Lord in his ecstasy accepted the river Ganges as the river Yamuna.
Aho bhagya Yamuna re pailu darshana, eta bali Yamuna ra karena stavana. Aho bhagya, what good fortune, what good fortune. Now I have seen the river Yamuna. Thus thinking the Ganges to be river Yamuna, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to offer prayers to it.
O river Yamuna, you are the blissful spiritual water that gives love to the son of Nanda Maharaj. You are the same as the water of the spiritual world, for you can vanquish all our offenses and the sinful reactions incurred in life. You are the creator of all auspicious things for the world. O daughter of the sun god, kindly purify us by your pious activities. So here there is so much of glorification of river Yamuna, and what is being stated? That she is the blissful spiritual waters that gives love to the son of Nanda Maharaj. So by the blessings of Yamuna, we can develop Krishna Prem. You are the same as the water of the spiritual world. So Yamuna has descended from the spiritual world. It is not a river of this material world at all. And what she can do, she has the supreme power to vanquish all our offenses and sinful reactions. She is the creator of all auspicious things. Eta bali namaskari kaila ganga snana eka koipin nahi dvitiya paridhana hena kale achar gosai naukate chadina aila nutan kopin bahirvasalana.
After reciting this mantra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offered obeisances and took his bath in the Ganga. At that time, he had only one piece of underwear. So, kopin is the sannyasis, what underwear they wear. So, he was just wearing that and he took bath in that. So, his clothes were wet and there was no second garment. So, he's taking his dip. He's thinking that it is Yamuna where he's taking a dip. And when he comes out, while Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was standing there without a second garment, Sri Advaita Acharya arrived in a boat, bringing him new underwear and external garments. So from opposite side, when he gets up after taking his dip, and he's seeing Advaita Acharya is coming now. So now what is happening there? Aage Acharya asir rahila namaskar kari, Acha dekhi bole Prabhu mane samshay kari.
When Advaita Acharya arrived, he stood before the Lord and offered his obeisances. After seeing him, the Lord began to wonder about this entire situation. That's the time when he got this major doubt, great
Samshay
doubt.
kari. Finally, some samshay.
Yeah.
Tumita Acharya Sai Thakene Ami Vrindavane Tumi Kemate Janila. So now Mahaprabhu is completely bewildered. He's still in his ecstasy and he's asking Advaita that, why did you come here? How did you know that I was in Vrindavan? So Mahaprabhu is thinking, ki, okay, Nityananda is coming along with me and Advaita is also here.
He's already there.
He's already there. And how he knows that he's taking dip and he's arriving with the new clothes. So the time is up, but we will conclude this section and then wind up. आचर कहे तुमी यहाँ से वृंदावना
मोरा भागे गंगा तीरे तुम्हारा आगमन. Advaita Acharya disclosed the whole situation, telling Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wherever you are, that is Vrindavan. Now it is my great fortune that you have come to the bank of the Ganga.
प्रभु कहे नित्यानंदा
हमारे वंशीला गंगा के आनिया मोरे यमुना कहिला.
So finally Mahaprabhu has understood. He has come out of his ecstasy and now he will get into his anger mode, because now he is realizing Nityananda has cheated me. He has brought me to the bank of the Ganges and told me that it was Yamuna. आचार्य कहे मिथ्या नाहे श्रीपाद वचना यमुना ते स्नान तुम्ही करिला एखाना.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accused Nityananda of cheating him, Sri Advaita Acharya said, whatever Nityananda Prabhu has told you is not false. You have indeed just now taken your bath in the river Yamuna.
गंगाया यमुना वहे हाना एक धारा पश्चिमे यमुना वहे पूर्वे गंगा धारा.
Hari Hari.
So Advaita Acharya then explained that at that spot the Ganges and Yamuna flow together. On the western side the Yamuna and on the eastern side was the Ganges. So Advaita Acharya is sort of telling that whatever Nityananda has, that is so true, that this is Yamuna.
So on the eastern side was the Shantipur village from where Advaita Acharya was coming, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling on the western side of Ganga, and this at that spot Ganga and Yamuna were both flowing in this manner.
Paschim dhare Yamuna vahe taha kaile snana ardha kaupin chadi shushka kar paridhana. Advaita Acharya then suggested that since Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had taken his bath in the river Yamuna and his underwear was now wet, the Lord should change his underwear for dry garments. Prema veshatina dina acha upavasa aji mora ghare viksha chala mora vasa.
Advaita Acharya said, you have been fasting continuously for 3 days in your ecstasy of love for Krishna. I therefore invite you to my home, where you may kindly take your alms. Come with me to my residence. So here, Advaita Acharya is recognizing that for 3 days you've not eaten anything. Of course, you're not aware because you're absorbed in the ecstatic, loving feelings and emotions for the Supreme Lord Krishna. And so he's now requesting, inviting him to please come to my home, take your alms. Aji mora ghare bhiksha, chala mora vas.
Ekamushti anna muni kariya chupaka Sukha rukha vyanjan kailu supar shaka. Advaita Prabhu continued, at my home I have just cooked one palmful of rice. I mean some little rice. The vegetables are always very simple. There is no luxurious cooking, simply a little liquid vegetable and spinach. So Advaita Acharya was aware that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu may think that I am a sannyasi and I am not supposed to eat opulent food. So before Mahaprabhu gives that argument, Advaita Acharya is saying that what is there? Shupa or shaka, some simple liquid vegetable and spinach. That's all. It's there.
And ega mushtiyanna, just one handful of rice. That's all.
Eta balino kaya charana nila nija ghara pada prakshalana kaila ananda antara.
Saying this, Sri Advaita Acharya took the Lord into the boat and brought the Lord to his residence. There, Advaita Acharya washed the feet of the Lord and was consequently very happy with him.
So in the next session, we will see how this time we saw Nityananda tricked him, and we will see how simple food Advaita Acharya would serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That we will see in detail in the next session. So thank you all for waiting. We continued for another 8 minutes, but this was such a beautiful section and we did not want to end abruptly somewhere in between. So looking forward to see you all. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And like always, kindly leave your comments in the YouTube comment section. We go through your comments and it's a pleasure to read your comments, and you are creating an asset for all the time to come, because whoever would check that would also check the comments and would get to know the essence of your learning. So thank you all very much.